The road back to becoming a contender after your franchise superstar leaves is oftentimes a really long and difficult process. There are teams that lost their franchise players half a decade ago or longer, and they still haven't fully recovered. It's a really tricky balancing act to try to recapture being a quote-unquote true contender, because it involves waiting for the right moment to strike to put yourself back into contention. Moving on these opportunities too quickly can leave you shallow around the edges, but if you wait too long, you're going to miss the opportunity to pull yourself out of the mud. And in a lot of cases, becoming a contender isn't always the difficult part, it's building a sustainable contender. All of this requires really responsible asset management, some salary cap gymnastics, and an unbelievable amount of luck, whether people like to acknowledge it or not. Cleveland had a little bit of luck involved in their meteoric rise, with Darius Garland developing into one of the NBA's best point guards, as well as getting involved in the James Harden trade to acquire Jarrett Allen, who is now an all-star. And of course, drafting Evan Mobley in the 2021 draft solidified themselves as having one of the best defensive front courts in the entire league. So after this incredible rise last season, they pulled the trigger to acquire Donovan Mitchell, who right now seems like the missing piece of the puzzle that Cleveland needed to get back into contention. Was it a risky move? Yeah, but it looks like it's paying off. The Cleveland Cavaliers look like one of the NBA's clear-cut best teams with a top 5 record in the NBA, which is impressive, especially because of how many teams that were expected to be good are right around 500 this year, and Cleveland still seems to be a cut above the rest. They've got the number 1 defense in the NBA, holding teams to only 106.6 points per 100 possessions, and they also hold a top 10 offense with 113.2 points per 100 possessions. Their defense is better than ever behind that front court of Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, and they're getting the most out of everyone else on that roster on the defensive end. They've been able to defend both the three-point line and the interior, showcasing some incredible rotations and a really solid understanding of how their defense should function, with Javon passing it to Giannis on the interior before Dean Wade slides over to provide help. Giannis passes it out to the corner, but Allen makes the rotation, forcing Lopez to pass it to Holiday. Wade makes another perfect rotation following Holiday on this drive to force the miss on the interior. When Draymond drives and seemingly gets an open lane to the basket, Mobley slides right over to help, forcing Draymond to pass it out to Wiggins, but Mitchell makes the right read to prevent the corner three-point attempt. When Wiggins passes it to Clay, it's then Allen who tracks the pass to prevent the shot, forcing him instead to go inside, which leaves Mobley there to force the miss on the floater attempt. Mobley and Allen are the backbone of this defense, taking away tons of space from opposing teams. Even when Curry rejects this screen, bringing Allen and Garland with him on the drive, Mobley's already right there on Draymond when Curry passes it to him near the nail to force the miss. On this high pick and roll, Trey gets going downhill, but Allen is right behind him and Mobley is waiting right there at the basket, and the two of them are able to force him into a turnover. When Mobley and Allen are off the court, opposing teams are attempting 38.2% of their shots at the rim, but when they're on the court, that percentage drops down to 33%. These two force teams to rely more heavily on shots outside of the paint, and the Cavs have been one of the best teams in the NBA when it comes to defending the three-point line this year. They're allowing the 4th fewest made threes in the NBA this season with 11, and teams are attempting the 6th fewest three-point attempts against them with 31.8 a night. Now, I want to shout out Donovan Mitchell because in college, he was praised a lot for his defense, and that was one of the appeals of whoever drafted him, was that while he's an older rookie, he was going to be a really solid defender from day one. But as his career has kind of gone on, we've seen that defense kind of start to drop off gradually during his time in Utah. But that hasn't been the case so far this season. He's been significantly better than what we saw last year when he was still with the Jazz. His screen navigation has been really good, spinning on Davis's screen to get to Schroeder in the mid-range to contest the shot. His unreal athleticism allows him to provide some impressive help defense around the rim, cutting from the perimeter here to get to the basket in time to contest and even block the shot at the rim. He reads this play really well with Garland and Allen defending the pick and roll, and when Hart cuts to get the pass from Simons on the drive, Mitchell jumps the passing lane and nabs the steal. Now, as I've mentioned, their defense is anchored by Mobley and Allen, but as a whole, they've been on the same page, and JB Bickerstaff is getting the most out of everyone on this roster. Real quick, guys, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Underdog Fantasy. With Underdog's NBA Pick'em, they make it super simple to win big. They've got individual player props to pick from for every single NBA game. All you have to do is pick higher or lower, and once you have your slip, make your wager and submit. You can make wagers for as low as $1 and win anywhere from 3 times your money all the way up to 20 times your money. And now with Pick'em Insurance, you can still win money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Sign up using code AlexHoops with the link in the description today, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100. Be sure to play responsibly, and thanks again to Underdog for sponsoring today's video. On the offensive end, their offense is one of the most visually appealing offenses in the NBA, led by the backcourt of Mitchell and Garland, 2 fantastic guards who can pass, shoot, finish, and manipulate defenses really well. That talent is maximized by the 2 amazing screeners in Mobley and Allen. On top of that, they just move the ball incredibly well, oftentimes having some possessions reminiscent of the beautiful game Spurs, going from Garland to Wade, then to LeVert, and with Garland flaring to the corner, you'd think there would be a 3-point attempt, but instead, with the defense scrambling to come out and guard the perimeter, he just feeds it to Allen for the finish. And the only time the ball ever touches the ground is when Garland initially brings the ball up the floor. The Cavs make terrific use of dribble handoffs, never shying away from running multiple handoffs on one possession to try and alter and manipulate the defense, and punishing undisciplined double teams to find high percentage looks. They set up for off-ball actions using off-ball movement, with 𝙖𝙗𝙗𝙪𝙩 rolling to the corner and bringing Saddiq Bey with him, opening up the interior for Garland to come off this pin down into a pass to Mobley on the roll for the finish. They also have plenty of cutting at their disposal, with Allen following LeVert's drive and just subtly pulling out to the upper end of the paint to get the pass for the slam. Double teaming their top tier ball handlers leads to the Cavs having the opportunity to punish them, with Allen faking the screen before cutting back into the paint to get the pass inside for the tough finish. When Mitchell pulls up to the top of the key and Mobley moves inside the arc, Martin is left guarding nobody, letting Garland just give Mobley the easy pass, forcing Adebayo to switch onto him, and Mobley just sends the easy pass to Allen, who can then get the slam. Another major aspect of their offense is the rim pressure that Darius Garland either leverages into scoring opportunities or playmaking opportunities. He can pull multiple defenders into the paint with him before kicking it out to a shooter on the perimeter for uncontested threes, or he can drive and collapse defenses before stopping on a dime to send them flying for easy fall-away shots. Donovan Mitchell operates in a similar fashion, using that driving ability to force defenses into difficult coverages, which frequently opens up passes to rollers out of the pick and roll. He can make really deceptive use of screens, being able to fake as though he's committing hard to it, and then rejecting it to get downhill for shots at the rim. He'll toy with his defenders against screens, especially when defenses are in drop coverage, until he ultimately gets the shot that he wants, and he's sure that his defender has been left behind by the initial screen. He also has really good footwork, so he can readjust off of difficult footing to put his defender in a position to drive them into screens, so he can get plenty of space to find his spots. Guarding just one prolific guard like Darius Garland proved to be really difficult last year for most teams, but now opposing defenses have to worry about 2, and it augments the strengths of Mobley and Allen really well. The fact that they're running pick and rolls at the highest rate of any team in the league doesn't mean they have a one-dimensional offense. In fact, pick and rolls are just the backbone of their offense, with everything else operating in conjunction with it. The constant motion and screening off ball is really what makes it tick. The Cavs had a really unfortunate slew of injuries last year that held them back from being a threat in the postseason, as a team that really no contender wanted to run into. The Cleveland Cavaliers did exactly what you're supposed to do when you have a young team that wants to take that next step. They went out and they got another star talent. What they sacrificed to get him doesn't seem to have slowed them down, and assuming they don't run into terrible injury luck like they did last year, they're solidly in that contender tier of teams, and if they keep clicking how they have been, anything could happen in the postseason. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. That's the #1 way to support me and help me continue making content. I'm going to be uploading every day for the month of December, so if you don't want to miss a video, go ahead and subscribe while you're here. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one.